Right now, as the tournament blazes across 16 cities in the United States, Canada and Mexico, from the 11th of June through till the 19th of July 2026, a handful of carriers are pulling off one of the biggest revenue sprints in aviation history. We're talking wide-body jets repositioned across oceans, crews working rotating shifts, and absolutely eye-watering fares on some routes. All of it to move an estimated 6.5 million fans across 3 countries and 104 matches over 39 extraordinary days. So which airlines are actually winning? Who paid to play? Who got lucky? And who's raking in the profits while everyone else is watching the football? Let's kick off, as this story is just as dramatic as anything happening on the pitch. And I don't just say that because I don't like football. So let's start at the top. Qatar Airways has been confirmed as the airline sponsor of the Men's Football World Cup in 2026 in North America, and also the 2030 tournament, with the state-owned carrier initially holding a 2-tournament deal for the 2018 World Cup in Russia and the 2022 edition in Qatar. This is now becoming a dynasty. Qatar Airways has been FIFA's airline of choice since May 2017, and now the partnership runs through until 2030. It's over a decade of exclusive rights on football's biggest stage. What does that actually mean in practice? Well, kind of everything. As the official global airline partner of FIFA, Qatar Airways retains exclusive international flight rights as part of its global partnership. That means the FIFA president flies Qatar Airways, the referees fly Qatar Airways, the trophy flies Qatar Airways, every VIP, every official delegate, every piece of FIFA branded cargo moving internationally goes through Doha first. Qatar Airways officially unveiled its FIFA special livery aircraft on a Boeing 777 ahead of the FIFA World Cup 2026, with the specially branded jet operating across key destinations in Europe, the USA and Asia, engaging fans around the world as excitement built and the tournament builds momentum. More than just a plane, that Boeing 777 is a flying billboard seen by millions of passengers across 3 continents. The branding value alone is incalculable. The value of the new Qatar Airways deal was not disclosed, but industry estimates place it at around $400 to $500 million. To put that in context, FIFA's entire marketing rights sales for the 2019 to 2022 commercial cycle earned close to $1.8 billion in total, so Qatar Airways is a very significant slice of that pie. And the return on the investment? The FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 officially engaged 5 billion people globally, with the Argentina-France final itself drawing 1.42 billion viewers, the highest ever audience for a single sporting event on record. For 2026, FIFA is projecting that approximately 6 billion people will engage with the tournament in some form, across traditional broadcast, streaming, digital platforms, and out-of-home viewing. That's your logo, your brand, your aircraft livery, potentially in front of 6 billion human beings. So Qatar Airways didn't just buy a sponsorship, they bought the most visible real estate on Earth. Now here's where it gets interesting. Qatar Airways owns the global territory, but the World Cup in 2026 is physically happening in North America, which means there's a domestic dimension that Qatar, flying its Boeings from Doha, simply can't own by itself. Enter American Airlines. American Airlines unveiled a new livery celebrating the 2026 World Cup, marking the tournament's return to North America for the first time since 1994. Through its One World Alliance partnership with Qatar Airways, American Airlines has been designated as the official North American airline supplier for the World Cup, with Qatar Airways retaining exclusive international flight rights, while the work and alignment between the 2 carriers ensures seamless international and domestic connectivity for stakeholders throughout the competition. Think of it as a relay race. Qatar Airways gets the fans across the Atlantic or the Pacific, and then American takes them the rest of the way. With more than 2,200 daily flights to World Cup host cities, American is offering its Advantage loyalty members the opportunity to score tickets to matches through sweepstakes. Back on the 2nd of April, American kicked off its countdown to the tournament with an aircraft livery celebration at its hub in Miami, transforming its hangar into the ultimate football experience alongside food and beverages inspired by Miami's rich culture. It may have just looked like a party, but that was strategic positioning in what happens to be the most important Latin American gateway on the east coast of North America. Let's talk about the real money. Seat revenue rather than sponsorship fees. An estimated 6.5 million fans are expected to travel across North America for the event, with close to 40% of attendees coming from international markets, generating a multi-billion-dollar travel boom. The top source countries for inbound international fans are Brazil, the United Kingdom, Germany, India, and Argentina. Every single one of those fans needs a long-haul seat to get to North America. That's where the big carriers are going to make their fortunes. Airlines such as Delta, United, and Air Canada are reporting record ticket search volumes as football fans prepared for the tournament. Record searches translates directly into record bookings, and record bookings on transatlantic or transpacific routes means premium cabin demand soaring. Business class seats on routes from London to New York, Frankfurt to Dallas, or Sao Paulo to Miami are filling up at a speed these airlines never normally see outside of a Christmas holiday period. Delta Airlines is already seeing strong demand for flights, particularly from high-end consumers and international markets, expected to drive significant revenue growth. In response, they're reallocating wide-body aircraft including Boeing 787s and Airbus A350s to meet the surging transoceanic demand. Delta Airlines has also been adding new services to help connect fans to World Cup host cities, including New York JFK to Malta, which launched on the 7th of June 26, and New York JFK to Porto since the 21st of May. Porto and Malta, not exactly the most obvious routes you'd think of. They're World Cup routes, calculated to pick up fans from smaller European markets who'd otherwise have no direct option to North America. Delta is literally drawing new lines on the aviation map because of this tournament. And that's what nobody might tell you about a World Cup. It's not just one wave of passengers. It's the 39-day rolling surge, with fans flying in for group stage matches, flying between host cities to follow their teams, and flying back home only to be replaced by the next wave. For the airlines, it's like running the busiest bank holiday weekend in history every weekend for 6 straight weeks. If you want to understand who really profits from a home World Cup, take a look at the host nation carriers. Canada has 2 tournament cities, Toronto and Vancouver. Internationally, airlines including American Airlines, Qatar Airways, Air Canada, WestJet and Lufthansa are expanding routes to Vancouver International Airport to accommodate growing interest from key markets including the UK, Germany, Mexico, India and Brazil. Inside the country, Air Canada is not just adding seats, it's becoming the connector between everything west of the Rockies and the tournament cities in the United States, while simultaneously positioning itself as the first port of call for any fan landing in Canada before heading south. Look further south and we have Aeromexico. Economic studies suggest that the 2026 World Cup could generate up to an estimated $3.8 billion for Mexico's economy, driven by financial contributions from international attendees in the form of flights, hotel bookings, food, and entertainment. Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey are all host cities, and Aeromexico is the dominant carrier into all 3. In May 2026, Aeromexico reported 4.6% year-on-year increase in international traffic, driven by World Cup demand. And here's the geography that makes Aeromexico's position so powerful. Beyond being just a host nation, Mexico is also a transit point. Fans from Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, and across South America find it far easier to fly into Mexico City and then hop to a match in Dallas or Houston, rather than attempt a direct connection. Aeromexico sits right in the middle of that flow, and it knows exactly what that's worth. The opening match of 2026, held in Mexico City, has been associated with an estimated economic impact of approximately $70 million, with broader projections suggesting the overall tournament could generate up to $3.8 billion in total economic activity across Mexico. The 11th of June opener at the legendary Estadio Azteca, one of the most iconic football grounds on Earth, sent a jolt through every hotel, taxi, restaurant, and airline check-in desk in the city, and it's only just beginning. Here's where most people's eyes glaze over, but stick with me because this is genuinely extraordinary. Moving 6.5 million fans across 16 cities in 3 countries over 39 days isn't just a travel inconvenience, it's a military-scale logistics operation. Airlines view the event as a once-in-a-generational commercial opportunity capable of generating billions of dollars in travel revenue, and they've begun restructuring schedules, deploying larger aircraft, and developing specialized football-focused travel products designed to jump on the revenue opportunities while strengthening customer loyalty. What does that actually look like on the ground? Well, airlines have pre-positioned spare parts and maintenance crews at every host city airport. Cabin crew rosters have been restructured months in advance. Catering operations in airports like Dallas-Fort Worth, Miami International, and Toronto Pearson are scaled up to handle volumes not seen outside of the absolute peak of travel. Wide-body aircraft, each with a capacity of up to 500 passengers. Primarily the Boeing 787, 777 and the Airbus A350 are being pulled from thinner routes and redeployed on transatlantic corridors where demand is surging. There's also the matter of slot coordination. Host city airports are extraordinarily congested during any major event. The FAA in the United States, NAV Canada to the north, and CNEAM in Mexico are all working in harmony to manage an airspace that will be under pressure unlike anything in its recent history. A delayed inbound flight from London to JFK doesn't just annoy one aircraft, it backs up connections into Dallas, Miami and Houston for hours. The pilots and dispatchers managing these schedules are, frankly, earning every penny. And then there's the cargo side of the operation. Each of the 48 national teams travels with an average of roughly 3,000 to 4,000 kilograms of equipment per squad, from training kit and boots, through to medical gear and tactical video systems. Multiply that across the full tournament, add the tonnage of FIFA's own operational equipment, and you have a cargo operation that rivals a mid-sized logistics firm. Let me bring this back to the money. Tourism Economics estimates that 1.24 million international travellers will arrive in the United States for the tournament, contributing roughly $17.2 billion to the US economy, as part of the $40.9 billion total North American economic impact. Aviation captures a meaningful percentage of every dollar spent by an international visitor before they even land. The long-haul seat, the domestic connection, the checked bag, the airport lounge upgrade, the travel insurance bundled at booking. For a fan flying from Sao Paulo to Dallas for a fortnight, the total aviation spend before they set foot in a stadium could easily exceed $2,000 to $3,000 per person. Multiply that across hundreds of thousands of fans from high-yield markets like the UK, Germany, Japan and Australia, and you begin to understand why Delta, United and American are projecting this as one of the most commercially significant summers in their recent history. Qatar Airways, meanwhile, is playing a different game entirely. Its revenue doesn't just come from selling tickets to fans. It comes from the sponsorship structure itself, from being the designated carrier for FIFA's entire operational ecosystem, and from the brand visibility that a 6 billion viewer audience delivers to its core business of positioning Doha as the world's premium long-haul hub. Every time a fan, be it in Manchester, Tokyo or Buenos Aires, sees the Qatar Airways Boeing 777 in World Cup livery on their newsfeed, that's a marketing impression that will cost tens of millions of dollars to replicate through conventional advertising. Broadcasting rights revenues for the 2026 World Cup have already reached approximately $3.7 billion, with FIFA securing agreements in over 220 territories. That scale of broadcast distribution means Qatar Airways' brand is embedded in every corner of the planet for the full 39 days of the tournament. No advertising budget in aviation history has ever brought that kind of reach. So I've covered the big names, but there's a quieter story happening alongside all of this. Lufthansa is flying the German squad, Air France is looking after the French, British Airways is taking care of the England team. These national flag carriers don't just benefit from team transport contracts, they benefit from the enormous emotional connection fans feel when their national carrier is literally transporting their heroes. Social media posts of national squads boarding their home airlines' jets generate millions of organic impressions without a single pound or euro spent on marketing. LATAM Airlines and Gol Linhas Aéreas from Brazil are both ramping up capacity on South American routes to North America. Carriers from across the world are rushing to transport the more than 6 million passengers to and around the United States, Canada and Mexico, placing significant pressure on the aviation industry. Brazil alone, arguably the most passionate football nation on earth, and with the most World Cup titles in history, will generate an enormous wave of inbound fans. The carrier that best capitalises on that will remember this summer for years. Budget carriers and regional airlines are also benefiting. The intercity movement of fans between host cities, say from Mexico City to Dallas to Miami over the course of a week following a team, is creating a domestic demand that feeds into every airport in the host nations. WestJet in Canada, Volaris in Mexico, and dozens of regional carriers in the US are all running at elevated capacity levels for the full tournament period. So here are my takeaways from all this. The Football World Cup, running through until the 19th of July 2026, across 16 cities in the USA, Canada and Mexico, isn't just the biggest sporting event in the world, it's the biggest aviation event as well. Qatar Airways has locked in global sponsorship through until 2030. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars for the privilege, and as a result, they're getting up to 6 billion eyes on their product. American Airlines, meanwhile, has positioned itself as the domestic partner, putting on an incredible 2,200 flights daily to the host cities, and using the tournament to build loyalty amongst their clientele. Air Canada and Aeromexico are capitalizing on a nation advantage that comes along once in a lifetime. Delta, United, Lufthansa, to name just a few, are rewriting their transatlantic routes to capitalize on the surge. An estimated 6.5 million fans are going to be on the move over the course of this tournament. Tourism economics projected an overall $40.9 billion economic impact in North America, and aviation is going to take a good chunk of that. The jets are packed, the crews are stretched, and probably right now, somewhere over the Atlantic, there's a 787 Dreamliner carrying 300 odd fans to watch their beloved team play 9,000 kilometers from home. Behind every great sporting event, someone's making a fortune, and now you have an idea who it is. Thanks once again for watching, see you next time.